Hi, boys and girls. Mr. D'Annunzio here. As you know, we are continuing our read aloud of Shiloh. Just want to give you a quick recap of what happened right before we very suddenly left school. He has the dog. He went over to his friend David Howard's house and he was asking for extra food. And then he went down to the store and asked for some old cheap food that he could buy, which he's buying for the dog. But David Howard's mother, as well as the shopkeeper that he goes to, both think that he's buying it for his family because they're poor. And they do live in a rather small town that word will spread pretty quick about this. And I think you'll see that in the coming chapters. Next 2 days go by as smooth as buttermilk. Shiloh gets biscuits or toast and a couple of bites of ham for breakfast. And then in the evening, I fix him up some frankfurters cut up and mixed with sour cream and little chunks of cheese. He don't much like the cheese. It sticks to his teeth and he turns his head sideways when he chews, trying to lick it off. Licks his chops afterwards, though. He throws up the first time he eats the stuff. Too rich for his belly, I guess. But after that, he manages to keep it down, and all the while he's fattening out a little. Each day, it's a little harder to see his ribs. I know my secret can't go on forever, though. Only had the dog for 6 days, and that evening, I find out that Judge Travers wants to hunt up on our land. Up the hill over in the far woods. Thinks maybe he could find himself some quail over there, he says. When Dad tells us that piece of news at dinner, my whole body goes cold. I want to jump up and scream, "No!" But I just grip my chair and wait it out. "Ray, I don't like that idea at all," Ma says. "You never asked to hunt on his land, and I don't want him hunting on ours. If we let him, we've got to let anyone else who asks. And one of those shots could find its way down here, to the house." "I'll tell him no," Dad says. "Don't like the idea of it myself. I'll tell him the kids play up there." I have to have my morning coffee. I stopped gripping the chair, but my heart still goes on thumping hard. I'm thinking how maybe Judge Travers has a hold of the idea I got his dog hidden up there, and he's looking for an excuse to snoop around. Having Shiloh a secret is like a bomb waiting to go off. The next day, Dad comes home with more news. Good news to him, bad news to me. So here's where you're going to see that people have been talking. "Can't figure it out," he says, walking through the door with a sack in his hands. "Folks are taking and leaving me food in their mailboxes, Lou. Used to be just Mrs. Ellison at her banana bread, but I found me a ham sandwich today in Nora Klingel's box and half a baked pie in the Saunders. Do I look thin to you or something?" Ma laughs. "Maybe it's just that you're the best mail carrier they've ever had on the route." "Well, we got half a pie for dessert tonight anyway," Dad says. "Oh, brother," I say to myself. Maybe Mr. Wallace is doing more talking than I figured. Mr. Wallace owns the store where he bought the cheese and the hot dogs. He wouldn't come right out and tell folks in his store buying cheap food. I was in his store buying cheap food, but he might just pass it along with the Preston families in hard times, and suddenly food starts appearing. That's the way it is around here. The next day, Ma rides into town with Dad, taking the girls along, and goes shopping for new sneakers for Darylyn and socks and underwear for Becky. First time I have the whole place to myself, and I let Shiloh run pure free. Bring him down the hill to the house, feed him the heels off a loaf of bread, all the leftover sausage from breakfast, and a bowl of milk. Then I let him lick the oatmeal pan. Show him every one of our 4 rooms, hold him in my lap on the porch swing, and laugh when he tries to stand up on the seat himself while the swing's moving. I let him smell the couch where I sleep and crawl under the front steps to sniff out the mole that lives under there. Follow him all over creation when he takes out after a rabbit. Then he gives up when he sees I'm not going to shoot that rabbit anyway. But I figure my luck's going to run out if I don't get him back to his pen soon. So about noon, I take him back and he goes right to the gunny sacks in the lean-to. He's so tuckered out. It's just in time because when I get back and I get the dishes done for Ma and the house picked up some, I look out and here she comes up the lane with Darylyn and Becky and their packages. Somebody gave them a lift. You can always count on that around Friendly. Ma's pleased that I got the dishes done, I can tell. "It's nice to come home to a clean house, Marty," she tells me. "Had good luck with shopping, too. Wasn't a thing I bought that wasn't on sale." You know why she's saying that, obviously. People think that they're poor and are on bad times, hard times. Darylyn wore her new sneakers home and got a blister already, but she didn't care. She's so glad to have something new. When I walk in the kitchen next, Ma's looking at her face in the mirror over the sink. Got her eyebrows raised high, and then she pushes them low and then raises them again. When she sees me studying her, she says, "Marty, do I got frown lines on my face? Tell me the truth now." I look at her good. "Sure don't see any," I say. "I don't neither. Ma's got a pretty face, plain but smooth." "Well, I don't either, but 2 people this morning asked me how I was feeling, and one of them wants to tell me what to take for headaches. I figure that if folks think I have headaches, I must be doing a lot of frowning." Womp, womp, womp. That's my heart. Folks think they got a remedy for something. They'll tell you whether you need it or not, I say. Sounds so grown up, I hardly recognize myself. So scared inside, though, my stomach shaking. So that was because he wanted to have, David wanted to come up to his house, and he told David's mom that his mom has been having headaches a lot, and that's why he can't come up to the house. But really, he doesn't want him to see Shiloh. Ma's taking out all the things she's bought and putting them on the table, taking the price tags off Becky's underwear and socks. "I saw David's mother at the dollar store," she says, "and they've got relatives coming in tonight. She wanted to know if she could bring David up here tomorrow when the rest of them go to Parkersburg." I told her yes. "Okay," I say, but all the while I'm thinking what I'm going to do with David to keep him off that hill. Take him up toward the old Shiloh schoolhouse, maybe, and walk along the river. Funny thing is, you got yourself a dog, you sometimes feel like you don't need anyone else. Used to be I'd be waiting at the window for David Howard to come up here for a visit. Nobody else loves you as much as a dog, except for your ma, maybe. That night, Ma makes us fried chicken for supper. First time in a long while. I put away a wing and a thigh on a saucer to eat later, I tell Ma, and add a spoonful of squash, which might be good for Shiloh's insides. He eats anything. The frankfurters and cheese and sour cream is all gone, so I gotta be watching for table scraps again and go out can collecting soon. Dad's working on the pickup after dinner, changing the oil. Becky and Darylyn's turning somersaults in the grass, and Ma's cleaning the kitchen. Soon as her back is turned, I sneak the food off the saucer and head up the hill to see Shiloh. I can tell Shiloh likes the fried chicken better than he likes the sour cream frankfurter mess he's been eating all week. He even eats the squash, and then he licks my hands and fingers to get all the salt off any place I touched a piece of chicken. Since I'd already taken him all over creation that morning, I don't feel he'll miss it much if I don't take him out again. So I go around scooping up all the dog doo-doo, like I do every day, toss it over the fence, and then I lie down on my back in the grass and cover my face with my arms, our favorite game. Shiloh goes crazy trying to uncover my face, nudging up my arms with his nose, tail going 90 miles an hour. Never whines like some dogs do, though. Even when we're out in the far meadow racing in the wind, he'll start to bark and I'll say, "Shh, Shiloh," and he stops right off. Wish I could let him make a little noise. It's not natural, I know, to keep an animal so quiet. But he's happy quiet, not scared quiet. I know that much. I move my arms off my face after a while and let him rest his paws on my chest, and I'm lying there petting his head, and he's got this happy dog smile on his face. The breeze is blowing, cool air in from the west, and I figure I'm about as happy right then as you can be in your whole life. And then I hear someone say, "Marty!" I look up, and there's Ma. Dun, dun, dun. Busted. So in chapter 9, we will find out what Ma thinks of him having the dog there and basically lying to him for a while now. 6, 7 days? All right, tune in tomorrow for chapter 9. See you guys. Stay safe. Wash your hands.